Hi, it's Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and I wanted to show you a holiday bracelet. Now, I had planned on doing one for Easter, and last week got away from me, and so I didn't end up getting it done. So I thought I would add some spring colors and repurpose the greens I had out with some other colors and show you how to use those oddball beads you have. You know, you can see these are all a little bit different. Now, there are some similar ones, like this is a necklace I took apart, and I've got 5 or 6 of these different beads, but they're all different colors is my point. You know, you might have 2 that are similar, but not really. These are from 2 different necklaces. So this is a way to use some of those odd and interesting. You can buy beads like this if you go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I think this one's Michael's. They sell these strings, and some of these are like, this is a nice, some of these are really nice quality, but they just have these strings and you can cut them apart. Let me do that real quick. And then you have all this variety of interesting beads to use. Now we're going to stick to more spring colors, but I'll still open these up because there was a couple of really pretty beads on these strings. And you can take apart necklaces. This is a necklace I got somewhere, no doubt either in one of my boxes or for 50 cents or $1 somewhere. This is another broken piece I have that is mostly these big plastic chunks, but you can see all these sparkling glass beads in between. And I will be making a bunch of bags and boxes to sell online that are predominantly this type of beads. Stuff that you can use to take apart and make jewelry. You know, a lot of people starting out want a variety of beads, and that's honestly how I got started. This one here, you know, it's an old vintage piece, but you can tell this isn't that old. And these are just sequins that they threaded onto. I don't know if you can see that. The lighting is... But these are just sequins, and they've gotten very dirty over the years. So more than likely this is a parts piece, these glass and metal pieces. So I just kind of wanted to show you some of that. And then here's a plastic, hold on, I'm making a lot of noise. These are a couple plastic pieces, but they're still really pretty. And I have no problem with using plastic and glass together. And I think these are really pretty. And then look at these beads. These are plastic, but they are absolutely stunning. I would have no problem using that in a piece of jewelry. None at all. Especially if you mixed it with some glass. Those are stunning. Little big for today's project, but I might make a bracelet out of that later. So I was going to show you how to do this with pre-made head pins, but I just don't like it. I don't like to use them because see how tiny that hole is? And then when you make your own loop, it's going to be bigger. I don't like that. So what I do, it's kind of crazy probably to some of you, is I cut the heads off, and they're up here. I just cut all the little loops off the head pins, the loop pins, and I make my own loop. So I've, here's another head pin. Here's 2 that I did myself, and you can see the difference between what they do and what I did. It's just a little bit bigger. So what I want to do is, and I'm going to show you how I did that. I want to take all these oddball beads and make something fun out of it. You know, make some kind of bracelet that, you know, is using some of these different and one-of-a-kind beads that you kind of don't know what to do with because you only have 1 or 2. And if you don't want to make a pair of earrings out of the 2, then you can make a couple interesting and unique projects with them. So I like to use these kind of things for charm bracelets. But I thought, well, not everybody wants to make a charm bracelet, so what else could I do? And I thought it would be fun to maybe do some kind of a spring bracelet and just mix and match. You know, you kind of got to lay them out and see what looks good and what you like. And then what I'll usually do is after I have done this part, I will put them on these looped pins, then lay them out again, and then once I like how they're laid out, I will start to connect them. So let's just put a few of them together. Where's the hole in this? Oh, there we go. And so now that's a problem with some beads. These lampwork beads can have a very large hole. So you kind of have to do a larger loop. And that's okay, because once you hook another one on there, it'll keep the bead in place. But the problem is then you'll end up with some of the wire showing. So I probably won't use anything that fits over the head that badly unless I have some seed beads to hold it in place. This is probably, no, actually look at this one. This is, wait, is that the hole in it? Oh yeah, this one's the same way, look. And then unless you make it really tight, that's not going to make you happy. It's going to look funky. So let's try one of these. Has that got a smaller? That one's better, see? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my looping tool. Now, most people use a double loop. This one has a flat on one side, but there's really no difference. You can use, now to make a smaller hole, you're going to start closer to the bottom, and you're going to keep it kind of small. Then you're going to cut off this end. Before you cut it, hold on to it, because it will fly. I've got one down the table from what I just practiced. Okay, and then you're going to take, let me get it up here in front of the camera for you. You're going to kind of roll it until it's, now you can take it and roll it and roll it. Do you like how the shape, whoops, and then you throw it across the table. There you go. And then you got two that match somewhat, you know what I mean? And you can level these out. Like if you want them to both be on the same side, you just take a plier. I recommend having several pairs of pliers. And then you're going to take the other side and just match them up so that both your loops. And look, I don't do perfect loops. I can do perfect loops when I really, but most of the time I don't worry about making my loops absolutely perfect. Oh my goodness, I am just dropping everything. But this is like a really slick bead. Okay, so there's our first one. Now this is an acrylic bead, but I think the problem is going to be, it's going to be too big. And I think that the, well, I'll show you how I started it. And this is just the same as looping the other side. You're just going to take and get the end, and you're going to roll it. I use the very end to keep it somewhat small. And once I roll it in like that, now that's a little smaller than I'm comfortable with. I want to make that a little bigger. So you're just going to roll it to get the size you want, right? Then I take and I push it back a little bit and make sure it's tight. There we go. Then you can put your bead. Now this one's kind of gnarly on the end, but that's fine because we're going to cut that part off. So somehow that got bent or used or something. I don't know. But we'll pick a bead and put that on here. Here's a nice blue bead. And then I will take and roll the other side. Now I can try to match it right from the start and just roll it the same direction. The back one's harder to do because you're up against the bead. It's much easier to make your first loop because there's nothing in your way. So then you're going to go ahead and cut it. And you hang on to that sucker because you do not want that in your foot. And I am speaking from experience. Okay, now then you take your rolling pliers and you kind of push it back and roll it around. It's like I said, this one's harder because the bead's in your way. I tend to get in here and flatten it a little bit. Okay, and just get that end and roll it in as best you can. Now they sell a little tool that I have that you can loop with, but I find it's almost, my husband bought it for me and it's really cool, but sometimes I find that's a little bit more stressful than just doing it myself. I've shown it on the channel before, but maybe I'll show it again. So basically that's what you're going to do. I'll do one more and then I'll do a bunch off camera and come back and show you how I put it together. So let's pick one more really fun bead. I wouldn't mind this being the center of the piece. This is a very gorgeous bead that was in one of my bead kits. I don't remember if it was dollar bead, but I think so. So I'm going to take and we're going to do this again. And I will roll it around till I get it into a circle. Oh, I went too far. Okay, which is fine. Just going to take this and kind of get it pushed into place like that. And then you can either take your pliers or the rolling one, and you're going to bend it back just slightly and then roll it back so that way it's more straight. See? That way it's not like unlevel. You want it to kind of have a nice round. Okay. Then I'll put the bead on. This one has a very tiny opening. Oh, this bead might not fit in there, through there. Let's see. Oh, I think the problem is this one's been cut or bent or something. Let's fix that edge. I think that's what it is. It was, if it's a tight hole and there's even a slight bend, it will not work. Okay, there we go. So if you ever have that happen where a bead just doesn't want to go onto the wire, check your wire and make absolutely sure that it's completely straight at the bottom. Because if it even wavers a tiny bit, it will not go through that really tiny opening. Alright, so now we're going to do the other side of this beautiful green glass bead. And sometimes you have to bend it a little bit. And let's roll it. This is why it's hard sometimes to get them to match up. Because the most important thing is to get them both done, both rolled. And then once they're both rolled, then you can worry about them facing the same direction. Alright, and then I'm going to pull it back. And I'm going to roll it around. And this just takes practice, that's all. Now, see, once you get it there, then you can take your pliers and get it fixed up so it looks nice. And then if you want them to face the same direction, that's when you'll do it. Is you'll simply grab one, hold it in place, grab the other plier, and come back. So I'll be right back, and I will string a bunch more together. Then we'll sort through them, decide what order I want to put them in, and then I'll show you putting them together. So I'll be right back, but it'll just be a second for you. Okay, I made up a whole bunch. Now I didn't end up using any yellow because the yellows I had were not very good. Yellow is a very hard bead to find. I'm not exactly sure why, but I wasn't happy with the yellows I had, so believe me, I'll be watching. Now I had a lot of similar, like tons of faceted glass, but I wanted these to be more unique and unusual and not just typical beads. So this is what I came up with. Now, if you want to make it easy on yourself, these are a neat little thing to buy. Now, my granddaughter borrowed this. I don't remember which one, and she marked it for her wrist. But basically, you can lay out your pieces on here to get it the way you want it. Now, they do have these, but these are a little trickier because I don't think it takes into consideration the size of the bead, but you can sit there, and if you want to use that, it's a great way to just kind of lay out your bracelet. So I figured I could lay it out and see what I think. I kind of got some short ones, some long ones, just all kinds. I have these. I might use this one because I like that multicolor, like it's a lampwork type bead. And I have another lampwork we could even use over here. Now see, let's start at the beginning and see how long this is. I want to put that one kind of in the middle. But this would be a 7-inch bracelet, and then I have this clasp. So you'd have to see how long you need the bracelet, how long you need the necklace. So this would take it to 8. I don't think I have jump rings in here, but I can make a couple, that's not a problem. So that way you can lay it out, And then to make jump rings, it's super duper easy. Just take a piece of wire or a head pin like this, and you're just going to, because it happens to all of us. I got a bunch of them in the other room, but I don't want to turn off the camera. What did I do with my tool? There it is. You're just going to take and get on one end of the wire and wrap it around. You're going to wrap it around a few times and make kind of like a spring looking thing. Now these aren't going to be your best, most perfect ones, and you might want a bigger one. And then you're just going to take and you're going to cut it off. You're going to cut across the whole thing. That's what you're going to do. My wire cutters are on their way out, I think. And it makes a couple of jump rings for you. That's all I need for this tutorial, is to show you how to hook it all together. So now what I'm going to do is, since I like this placement, I'm going to start with this last one, and I'm going to place one end of the piece. Now you don't have to use a jump ring on these ends, honestly, if you don't want to. I tend to do it because it gives it a little bit more fluidity, but I think these are going to be a little small. So let's just, we'll just hook it onto the actual bracelet. So I'm just going to open that up. I'm going to put that on. But I still wanted to show you how you could make jump rings, but I should have made them on the bigger setting, the bigger part of the thing. So there's the end. And then all I'm going to do is, once you like how it looks, you're just going to open up one end. You're going to slide. Got to get it to cooperate. It'll move around on you. And you got to push it up. And then slide the next bead on. And then go ahead and close it up. And turn it. There. And then just keep doing that. Just going to, sometimes you can't tell which side is the one you got to open. There. Oh, that one's tucked down. Oh, that one was tucked down in there. I couldn't tell which side to pull open. That's the only problem with you tuck it too far in there. You can't always see. And one way you can keep from doing that is just not completely loop them until you... but I find it's better to have them completely looped and then untuck them and retuck them, because it seems to give you a better loop. Let's see if we can see which side this one is. Over here. I don't know what's all over. It looks like there's glue or something. Huh. I must have cleaned something. Sometimes I'll pick glue or something off of something with my... There we go. I'm just going to do the same thing. We're going to hook that one on there. We're going to open this one. I'm going to hook that one on there. Just close it. And then that one. Open that. Close it. And then open that. Put that one on. And close it up. There we go. Then we put the other end of our clasp on there. Like I said, if you want to use a jump ring, just use a standard jump ring. I tend to buy the thicker quality, the thicker millimeters. I like a little bit heavier. Okay, this one I have to open it a little bit more. But really, on a chained bracelet like this, you don't have to. You can just hook it right into the bracelet. And then you'll just hook it in like that. And you've got a finished bracelet. Now, of course, everyone's wrist is a different size. This probably wouldn't fit my wrist. So if I was making this for me, I'd probably put a couple more beads on it. But that's the cool thing, is you can make it as big as you need. And it's not that big of a deal. If you make it and you're like, oh, that's way too small, it's real easy to take one end off. And actually, it will fit me It will fit me just very tightly. But that's the fun part about it, is you can add, subtract, whatever. But it's just a fun little project, and a fun way to use all those unique and unusual beads that sometimes you don't know what to do with. Because if you only have one, you can only make, you can't make a pair of earrings. And many of now I did have more of these I could have used. I don't think I had more of those, but many of these were one bead is all I had. So that way, it was a way to use those unusual beads. Now you can also make pendants with unusual beads, and if you want to make a pair of earrings for this, then you can find a complementary bead that you have more than one of. All you need is two. So if you have one bead that complements it, doesn't have to match it, you can just make a pair of earrings out of something complementary. But I always make up extra, because then if it is too small, you can add a bead. If it's you don't like how it lays, or you don't like, this one didn't end up having much blue in it, just the one. But if I wanted to add another blue in there, I could. Now I have 3 on one side and 3 on the other with this in the middle. See? So I did that intentionally. So probably if I added one, I'd have to add 2. And so, but it's just a fun way to use up some of those one-of-a-kind beads that you have. And then I like to sometimes sit down and just make up a bunch of these and a bunch of charms just to put away for when I want to do a project. I already have a little box with a bunch of them. Christmas is a great time to do that too. You can do a lot in Christmas colors. But anyway, I hope you found this fun and interesting. I plan on doing a lot more tutorials to come, and I plan on doing some of the kid crafts occasionally too that I think you might find fun. And I'm going to be making some kits to sell where I'll have assorted broken jewelry, mainly stuff that's like these, that is for the beads. Like this one here would be a great one to put in a box, because some people would love these big beads, but look at all those gorgeous glass beads. So I will be putting some of those together, and when I do that, I've had a couple requests to show on camera making some of those, so I will do that. Another thing, if you're a fabric artist, my daughter is currently making a bunch of kits up for quilts or other craft projects, like 2.5-inch squares and different things like that, and some fat quarters and stuff. So those will be getting listed on both eBay and Etsy, because we're going to test out which one does better with the fabrics. But anyway, I will be back very soon. In fact, I'm hoping within the end of the week I'll have another video out for you. And we will be dropping those jewelry boxes as they come in as well, where I will open them completely on camera. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. I'm filming this on the weekend, so I guess you'll see this Monday. So I hope you had a wonderful weekend and have a great week ahead of you. And I will be back very soon.